Move on, look at item number 4 in our AT&T SEC Country Live First and 10 list. And Georgia and Florida were off on Saturday, but they were off and running today, at least on the Florida side of things, with a little bit of trash talk getting ready for Saturday's renewal of the world's largest outdoor cocktail party rivalry. Let me show you a couple of examples as captured by Jordan McPherson, one of our Florida writers that covers the Gators for SECCountry.com. Here's Chauncey Gardner, the Florida defender, on quarterback Jake Fromm for Georgia. He says he's throwing simple passes. I get it. Anybody can throw a slant. That's what Gardner says about Jake Fromm. I believe we also have something here coming from wide receiver Josh Hammond, who brings up the fact that Florida's won 3 straight against Georgia. And the quote from Hammond is, they might be the number 3 team, but they can't beat Florida. So you have Hammond and Gardner, a couple of Florida players, weighing in with, I think that's actually some legitimate trash talk style bulletin board material here leading into the game against Florida on Saturday. For Georgia, is this a good idea for the Gators?
Well, you know, we talked about this back during the summer and about Chauncey Gardner and trash talk. And I'm not a big guy on trash talk. I think it was funny when it came up against Vanderbilt between Alabama, and I thought, you know what, good for that guy. But listen, this is what Florida has become. They are owning this right now. I mean, they've become the trash talker. Chauncey Gardner, I know when he was recruited, he was called the mouth of the South. This is something we're not, this is not shocking, I guess, is where I'm going with this. I don't think it's shocking for anybody to look at this Florida team and say, what, you know what, they're confident, they're talking trash. Georgia's obviously a huge, going to be a huge upside. Florida's going to be a big underdog in this game. But they're all kind of making not valid points, but good trash talk. I think that there's a lot of angles to look at this, and I like that Florida's kind of going into this game with a chip on their shoulder.
Well, I agree. I don't mind a chip on your shoulder, but we've already seen an example from this year about how this did not work for Florida. I mean, if it's a chip on your shoulder, then Mark Thompson saying he was looking forward to seeing Florida beat the brakes off of Michigan, that would have worked. The fact of the matter is, Michigan's looked terrible against everybody they played, except they kicked Florida in the face to start the season. so maybe these sort of like, trash-talking statements going into a game, I mean, maybe Florida's got some evidence that doesn't really work out all that well.
It is definitely Florida-Georgia week for my man BA here. You can tell that he's got that extra edge to him this week.
But there is one thing that's true, though. You do have to admit this. You brought this up. Jim McElwain allows this. For the good or for the bad, McElwain allows this. And, for the people who always sort of count sort of this paint-by-number opinion that the SEC is a bunch of Saban clones, McElwain got to work for Saban, this is one way in which the apple falls very far from the tree. Now, the results on the field probably fall very far from the tree as well, but this is one way in which I'm just talking. I'm not even saying anything. But this is one thing that's very un-Saban-like when it comes to McElwain. Saban's not allowing this kind of stuff.
Well, and I'm actually kind of shocked at how far this has gone with Jim McElwain, because he is a looser coach. He's one of those guys that loves being kind of a player's coach, and he does a little bit of trash talking himself where, after the LSU game last year, he said, what, they got what they deserved, and that's just kind of been the nature of the beast for Florida. And I think the fact that they haven't had a good year just kind of magnifies that. But listen, I thought that Kirby Smart went to the other side of the rope with this weekend when he went to his team and said, hey, how many of you have beat Florida? I mean, he was kind of doing the opposite thing where, hey, look, we have to get over this hump. Let me kind of highlight the recent history between these two teams, and the last 25 or 30 years has been in Florida's favor as well. And so I think that Florida players and Georgia players together are not deaf to that. And so I don't mind so much the fact that Florida players brought it.